Hey everyone, this is Jedith, and this is a very important video. We have finally discovered what the tier bonus is for the very first season of Dragonflight. Let's dive into it. Before we do though, I just want to ask you a quick favor. If it's not too much trouble, give this video a like. Check to see if you're already subbed to the YouTube channel. If you're not, you can do that as well. While you're down there, just drop a comment, whatever you want to say. If you have nothing to say, just leave your favorite emoji or something. All right. Let's dive into what these tier bonuses are. So here's the Havoc one right here. This is it. The 2-piece bonus. Chaos Strike and Blade Dance chance to critically strike is increased by 5%. And their critical strike damage is increased by 10%. It looks slightly familiar, right? This is kind of reminiscent of our current 2-piece bonus on retail. A little bit different, but also kind of the same. The 4-piece, Chaos Strike and Blade Dance have a 20% chance to increase damage you deal by 8% for 6 seconds. Your critical strikes increase this chance. So, this one sounds like it's pretty powerful, right? Like, increases all damage you deal by 8% for 6 seconds. Now, this is where it gets confusing. Your critical strikes increase this chance. What does this mean? Does this mean, you know, if you crit, you then have a 40% chance? Or is it a stacking increase? Each time you crit, you get an extra 1% onto this until you get this damage proc, and then it resets back down to 20%. It could be a multitude of different ways. So I think what we're going to have to look for is in this next build coming up this week, hopefully these are implemented, and we'll actually be able to see the spell ID for it and kind of, you know, really pull this apart and figure out what this means exactly. Okay. So there's a few things to consider with this, right? The 2-piece bonus is pretty straightforward. There's not much to say about it. It's just, you know, it's pushing us towards our favorable stats that are going to be in Dragonflight, right? Crit's good through our talents. This is going to make it even better. One thing we need to know is this crit strike damage multiplicative? Meaning, is it going to act in a certain way with our talents like Know Your Enemy, where it kind of snowballs, right? So one question is like, okay, when you crit, it takes your base damage and duplicates it, right? It does 200% damage. So you're doing 2 instances of that much damage. So is this saying that you're going to add 10% onto that? So is that going to be 210%, or is that going to add 10% onto the base as well, and then you're critting, so you're getting an extra 20%? It could go either way. So we'll have to see once we actually get this implemented onto the beta. We'll be able to pull it apart and see how it works under the hood. The 4-piece is really good, kind of what we're expecting in the what we've been predicting in the Fellhammer Discord, is that we're going to have somewhere between like a 50 to 70% uptime on this, if it works the way that we think it works. But again, nothing is really set in stone right now, so we don't know. Good thing about this too is realistically, this isn't just increasing our Chaos Strike and Blade Dance. Blade Dance, unfortunately, even Death Sweep, it's not crazy AoE damage, but the best portion of this is that we're increasing all our damage by 8%. So unfortunately, you don't have much control of these windows, but if you have them up often enough, right, there's probably going to be some overlap with your I-beams and your essence break windows. You know, in conjunction with everything else, these bonuses are going to be very, very powerful. If they stay the way they do, there's a chance they don't. You know, things change. Usually there's a couple iterations on what these bonuses are. They get some feedback from the community and they adjust things accordingly. And yeah, so that's the first look at what our tier bonus is. If you haven't actually seen what the tier set looks like, I can show you that real quick. Pull it up here. This is the normal one, Raid Finder, Heroic, and Mythic. Personally, I'm not huge on the Mythic one. I think it's kind of dull looking. If I had to pick what my favorite was, it'd probably be Heroic. You know, I think it's bright and flashy enough that like it just has that kind of unique like flash to it. You know, you see somebody running around with this, you're like, oh, you can identify it right away. I like the Raid Finder one too. It's a bit more subtle. There's also the PvP ones. This is the Gladiator set. I think it's okay. It's a little reminiscent of a Rogue. It just reminds me of that one Rogue set. Then there's the Elite one. This one's really cool. It's red. It's very bright red. And yeah, it's decent. But if I had to pick one, again, it would either be the Raid Finder or the Heroic one. One thing to keep in mind is they did want to keep these a little more simple going into the very first season and tier of Dragonflight. Reason being, we just got a whole new talent tree, right? Like, there's so many new things to figure out in here. And, you know, you throw one new, like, a tier bonus at it that could, like, drive everything out of whack. And it could push people into, like, you know, doing a certain build. And that's not what they want in this very first season. They want to make sure that they give people the freedom to try different builds and to not sort of pigeonhole them into playing one specific thing. You might see more of that later down the line. As the expansion unfolds, you might see tier bonuses that, I don't know, force us into Essence Break or into Any Means Necessary or something like that. But I think what their goal was with all the classes was to do something basic, something that's like stat based as opposed to proc based, and just give us freedom. It also gives us some time to, like, learn, right? We have to learn how to really put our specs together and make builds. So yeah, there we go, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments, and thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Peace.